Thanks, Karen, and welcome everybody. Thanks you for joining our Peer Connect session. We're looking forward to talking with you today about building a VMO and how we drive business agility within the value stream. The format here is going to be a panel discussion and presentation by Michelle, Marshall, and I. And that's going to take about half of the session that we have here. And then we're going to, hopefully, that's going to inspire you with a bunch of questions and things you want to talk about in your organization. And that's where we get to the connecting with your peers part of the presentation, where we'll go into breakout rooms and Michelle, Marshall, and I, as well as a number of other members of the Agile Rising team, will be in those smaller breakout sessions to have more kind of intimate conversations with you and a small group of your peers. So that's the format for today. But let's get into it and talk about what delivering value is all about. So when we're talking about a VMO and talking about how we structure an organization that's really driving the lean portfolio management, driving the strategy and the prioritization at the enterprise level or at the portfolio level, it's really important that we're focused on value. And we've chosen the term value management office very intentionally. And what we're looking at here is really the business agility objective of delivering faster results, delivering higher quality results, and not just looking at, are we optimizing the development value stream, but are we really delivering the ability to respond, sense what's going on, be reactive in the market? And are we focused on delivering value and not focused on how hard are we working or what are we producing, but really what are the outcomes? So this is going to be what we're digging into today in our presentations and in our discussions, and giving you some practical advice on how we structure a VMO and the metrics that we use in a VMO. So just an overview of what we're talking about here with value stream management. Within Scaled Agile, we talk about the need to organize around value and understand both your development value streams and your operational value streams. So we're not going to have time today to go into how we do that, but we're just going to stress the importance of understanding your value streams. And the first step in having an effective value management office is understanding what your value streams are and understanding how value flows through your organization. So any products or services that you have result in a value stream, and we're going to identify how that flows both on the business and operational side as well as on the development side. So why is this so important? We're quoting here the 15th annual State of Agile report from last year and looking at what are the things that are really important, what are the benefits that have been derived from the initiatives. And as we can see, the kind of number one things that people are realizing from their DevOps or their Agile or their safe implementations: accelerated delivery and improved quality, reduced risks, which are all great things and all things that we want to achieve. But if we look a little bit further down this list, we see as many organizations are actually seeing an improvement when it comes to delivery being aligned to business objectives and increased visibility of flow of value to the users. So this is a really big disconnect, because if we're just moving faster and delivering faster, but what we're delivering isn't better aligned to our business objectives, are we really building the right thing, right? And and at Agile Rising, we think that what the story that this is telling is that a lot of organizations are implementing Agile, implementing SAFe, implementing DevOps, focused on the delivery metrics, focused on the technology side of things, without really viewing overall value stream management. And this is a big gap that we can help fill with the value management office. So what's a value management office look like? Right. So in SAFe, with the value management office and implementing LPM, right, what we're trying to do is shift away from that traditional project management, the traditional projects and overloaded systems, and phase gates and status reports and all of those sorts of things, and moving to a true SAFe organization, long-lived value streams, funding those value streams, having a good strategic planning process that links directly from what we want to achieve as an organization to how we're executing on it and making that visible, and having the business strategy and the objectives all aligned so that as value is flowing through the organization, we can see it flow not only through the completion of development, but through the actual delivery of value to our customers, our users, and our stakeholders. So this is one of the things that is we can lay out what we want to achieve and what the VMO is supposed to accomplish, but how do we get there? And at this point, I kind of want to engage Michelle and Marshall in the conversation about some of the challenges that happen in how you pivot an organization to this and why it's important to have a good roadmap and a good strategy.
I'll defer to Michelle to start.
Thank you, Marshall. The biggest thing that seems to happen is if we don't have some kind of an implementation roadmap, is the tyranny of the urgent takes over. And then you end up having a very scattered approach that actually doesn't accomplish your goals. Because you just end up reacting to everything instead of actually accomplishing the things that you want to. And then things keep getting postponed.
The other side of that is we always start where the customers are, and oftentimes the place that they are is deeper down in the system than we would really like, and we find it difficult to apply systems thinking to solve the value stream problem of constructing value streams that actually encompass the full creation of value, the classic local optimization trap.
And when we talk about really effective value stream management and creating a VMO, it really spans the organization, right? And so if we don't have buy-in and if we haven't addressed some of the issues about how do we get executives really sharing a vision and sharing goals that they can accomplish together, it's really hard to implement. So this is often a journey, and this is where it's important that you follow the implementation roadmap and get the guiding coalition. And it's also where the lean portfolio management class and the roadmap that you create around that is a really important tool for figuring out how this is going to roll out in your organization, because it's really dependent on personalities, current structure, and the type and size of the business that you have. But we're going to talk a little bit about the aspects that need to go into an effective value management office. And when we think about value stream management, we think about these 6 major areas, right? And these align directly to the Scaled Agile framework and the SAFe values. Organizing around value, creating business agility across the entire organization, creating flow throughout the entire organization, which creates a culture of continuous innovation, and having the right outcome-based and flow-based metrics and financial reporting. So we're going to talk about some of these. We don't have time to talk about all of them, but we're going to talk particularly around organizing around value and how we structure the PMO, and a little bit about flow and financial reporting, which we hope is going to inspire you to ask a bunch of questions and talk to each other when we get into the Peer Connect session. Also, we firmly believe that good organizational change management is important to everything that we do in implementing SAFe and implementing value stream management, that we need to think about how we're going to roll this out and drive adoption and really solid in our communication and our training around that, which again, we're going to leave you with. We think it's really important, but in the time that we have, we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail around that today. So let's talk about organizing around value. Organizing around value is one of the core concepts in SAFe. It's how we build our cross-functional agile release trains. It's the foundation of how we do lean budgeting and what lean portfolio management and value stream management is built around. But we need to be really effective in how we do our organizing around value. And too frequently in organizations, this becomes a view of the technology, right? Or what we see, and any of you that came to our session at the SAFe Summit might recognize this slide because we showed you this slide at the SAFe Summit. One of the things that we often see is going through value stream identification workshops, and we identify operational value streams. We then identify the development value streams. But from that point forward, the transformation really gets focused on those technology development value streams. And we kind of have this, we were aware of who our customers are on the development value stream, and maybe have some user personas around them, but we're not really focused on actually optimizing those operational value streams, which might be really, really important to delivering the value that's created by the development value streams. Even further, we often leave out big chunks of the development value stream because we only think about people writing code or developing software, and we miss people that are doing development work like building sales and marketing material, designing and delivering training, doing consulting, and all of those sorts of things. And so when we think about it from a VMO perspective and from a value management office perspective, we are thinking about all of this together, right? And we want to, at this level, we're thinking about how value flows across both our development and our operational value streams, and in particular, creating business agility arcs that span this entire gamut of value delivery. So if we're not engaging these other parts of the business, right, people that create the marketing material, the people that create and deliver the training, the people that are doing the implementation services, if we aren't engaging those folks in the process, then we're only capturing part of the organization, and so this is kind of my challenge to everybody. Is to think about how you broaden the involvement within your SAFe implementation to get more of these business and operational sides of the organization involved. And so, you know, the question here is, how do we fill the seats, and how do we actually identify those people and get them working in real agile teams? And Marshall's going to take over here to talk about our approach and technique for doing that.
Thank you, Chris. So as Chris is alluding to, we have to think beyond the development value stream. It's obviously a focus of the Scaled Agile implementation roadmap. But when we're really thinking about where the rubber meets the road, do we really have all the people that we need in order to design, build, test, and deploy or deliver that value? For example, we oftentimes work with clients that manage ERP systems, and commonly we wind up starting out with the transformation within the IT or the software groups. Well, with an ERP system, there's also almost always, in every case, a large group of people who are doing the functional work in the ERP system. Is that a credible part of the value creation process? It absolutely is. It's not just the IT people or software folks or the suppliers that are maintaining the platforms and the ERP system like SAP or Oracle. So when we think about team design strategy workshops, our proposal is to identify those emergent knowledge groups that actually have the knowledge about the system, apply design thinking so that we can understand the problem and then build the right solutions, and then iterate through that process until we can have agreement on what the team design strategy should be. And that team design strategy will allow us to actually form the hypothesis that later will then be used by the entire system. In other words, the people that we would typically invite to the Safer Teams course, the people who will be on the value stream network working in it as an Agile release train. And then we would take that converged team design strategy, work within that network, and then form teams, self-select our teams, and then execute against that hypothesis that we can ultimately realize whether we do have a business agility value stream or perhaps whether we've missed some of those critical components in the system.
And I think one of the really important things here is that when we're talking about team design, we're talking about how we form our agile teams that make up agile release trains and solution trains. But we're also talking about how we design the VMO itself, how we design the lean agile center of excellence, how we design those leadership groups that drive the transformation. And one of the things that we often see here is those parts of the organizations not really acting as true agile teams, right? And it's part-time. It's people that are wearing a bunch of different hats. They're not using the same tools as the rest of the organization. So really, we need to see agile teams at all levels, and this can be one of the really challenging parts of a transformation, is convincing all those senior folks to really adopt and embrace what the teams are being asked to do.
And that food for thought for our later breakout rooms is, does your organization or your client have a traditional PMO? And you may be working within the teams that are developing software solutions, et cetera, but how do you bring them along in the transformation process? How do you bring your HR folks and your legal team and your marketing teams along on the transformation journey or the change process? Using team design strategy in combination with the proposed workshop for team formation can be a way to bring the entire system together to be a part of actually forming that hypothesis that will ultimately lead to change and hopefully all the great business results that we get from using the framework.
And kind of continuing on that thread, it takes us to kind of our second aspect of enterprise business agility. And if we want to have agility across the organization and the entire way that we deliver, it's important that we include everybody across the value stream in that process. So again, thinking outside of the IT organization, and really just highlighting here one of the 7 core competencies of safe organizational agility, lean thinking, people and agile teams across the organization, both in technology and in your lean business operations and the way that we're doing strategy, right? So again, breaking out of just your technology organization. and getting those business teams on our Agile release trains, right? Agile release trains aren't just for technology developers, they're for anybody that's building things um, of value. And I think, Michelle, I think you have some examples of some non-IT parts of the organization joining Agile release trains. Can you share some of your experience there?
Sure. I actually have two pretty solid examples. One is when we were actually putting out a, well, it was both website and apps on whatever format of phone. And we ended up creating teams that had both content management and lawyers on it. We had one team that had both of those on there because anytime new content went out for this organization, the lawyers had to review it. So we wanted to create where they were working together. Lawyers are usually coming from a perspective of give it to me when it's actually finalized and then I'll review it. So it's trying to get them to change their mindset also and work in smaller batches. And once we got them working that way, they actually really enjoyed it. So that's one example. And then another example is when we were kicking off a whole new product, brand new product going out into the market, we incorporated the marketing and the advertising that went along with that. And it was a national campaign. So they were actually like a little separate part that would feed information into the train as to things and dates that had to get done. And at the same time, we were feeding information back to them. And we ran both of those teams. We had scrum masters on them. We had product owners on them, and their features were a part of the train backlog.
Thank you. Excellent examples. And some things that we hope all of you think about as we get into some of the breakout sessions and think about, what would that look like in your organization, and how could you create some of those business agility trains within your organization. All right, so the third aspect is flow. Flow is fundamental to everything that we do in Scaled Agile Framework. Scaled Agile Framework is a system of interconnected Kanbans that flow value through the development process. And so what we're going to leave you with here is that we often see the flow, particularly at the senior level, at the strategic level, not as smooth as we would like it, right? That things are choppier here, things are more interrupts. And often that's a system of not having a good cadence of events and not treating the VMO or your lean portfolio management function as a high performing agile team, right? So we need the VMO to be using all of the team level events. We need to be using the cadence and not just think of, well, all these things at the portfolio level are just supporting what happens at the Agile release train level or the team level, right? These are things that there are people doing work on all the time, and we need to have a good cadence of events. And we need to have good tooling here. And one of the things that we often see is kind of a pieced together lean portfolio management system that's not really pulling together all the information, doesn't really tie in. This remains an area that lots of organizations struggle with, is having the right tooling at this level, particularly in organizations that have taken a decentralized approach to Agile and kind of let each part of the organization decide what their safe implementation is going to look like, and using different tools. We have multiple customers, that big, large, complex organizations that let different parts of the organization pick what tool works best for them at the team level and the train level. But at this level, at the portfolio level, at the VMO level, it all needs to come together. So do you have a good reporting structure that pulls all of those team level tools and metrics together and presents it in a way that's actually actionable by senior leadership from a strategy perspective and from a business agility perspective? So not going to go into details about how to do that, but that's one of the things that we're going to kind of prompt you to think about when you get into your breakout session, and what's working for you and what's not working for you from a flow perspective, both from the meetings and cadence and the technology. And finally, our metrics. So we're kind of skipping over the fourth aspect, which was innovation, just for the sake of time here today. But when we talk about metrics, and we talk about metrics at the VMO level, it's really, really important that we think about things from the outcomes. What are we producing in terms of value actually delivered, not just how active people are. So when we think about this, right, SAFe thinks about metrics at the value stream level in three main aspects. Flow, how are we actually doing at building things, and looking at things like cycle time and lead time, and where are our bottlenecks, right? Our competencies, how well are we doing at adopting new ways of working, adopting SAFe, adopting Agile. But really importantly, from the VMO perspective, is the outcomes. And what we see happen far too often is an over focus on our flow and competency metrics, and not enough focus on what's that flow and those competencies actually achieving. So just reinforcing here the metrics that you should be looking at. We move on to the next image, right? The things that we want to be looking at from a value stream perspective are the outcomes, right? Are we selling more? Are we acquiring more users? Are we producing better operational outcomes for our organization, right? So these are the metrics that SAFe suggests and provides for the value stream level, and are things that, but again, we often see these being viewed as things that are harder to get, take a lot more time, and to really develop and see. And so the easy metric to look at is, what was our cycle time? What are we doing in terms of how fast we're building things? And what we really need from a value management office is, what is the value actually being created here? Okay. So that takes us really to the end of our time box here for Michelle, Marshall, and I talking about things. We hope that that's produced some thought provokers for you. Hopefully it's produced some questions. And so we're going to shift now into the breakout part of it.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for joining today. We know that you have lots of options during your day when it comes to what you want to, join up and sign up for. So we appreciate taking time today. I'm going to kick it back over to Chris or anyone from the Agile Rising team if you guys have a few closing words.
Yeah, just like to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for participating in the discussion in those breakout groups. Feel free to reach out and connect with us. Connect with us on LinkedIn, either individually or Agile Rising. If there's anything that you'd like to continue the conversation, we're happy to chat more and share some more of our thoughts.
Awesome. And I will do one more shameless plug, but for those of you that did attend the SAFe Summit, all of the content from the summit, there's great technical talks, and Chris was one of our speakers. Those can all be found on the SAFe community platform. So I hope you are finding that and navigating your way through to continue the learning. And check out our events calendar for more Peer Connects to come. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.